Good day and welcome to yet another edition of Game Time with Marco. Thank you very much for joining us and thank you for tuning in on our previous episodes as well as for your comments, your views. Please do not forget to like and subscribe and keep those comments coming, keep those suggestions coming, and do make sure that you also suggest to us the guest that you would love to see sitting here on the couch. And with that said, let me introduce our guest for today, one of the most talented players that Namibia has ever produced. Unfortunately, only played in the local league, and a few of us did not really see him in his formative years, and he's going to take us through that. But now he's the man in charge of one of the oldest clubs in the country that is, plays in the Premier Football Soccer League, in the Premier Football League that is here in Namibia. Sitting next to me is Dickies Akwenye. Right?
Yes, Nelson Akwenye.
Nelson Akwenye. Which one do you prefer, Nelson or Dickies? Because we grew up knowing you as Dickies.
Yeah, Dicky is it has stuck. If somebody calls me Dicky, then it means that they know me somehow from somewhere back in the day. And a lot of people think it's a formal name, but it's just a nickname that has stuck. So my dad, just to clarify maybe, and my dad used to love sports, all types of sports, and he used to watch Formula One. So there was a guy called Nicky Lauda.
Nicky Lauda,
I think, he passed away a few years ago. He was like a Schumacher. He was the top Ferrari driver. And so my dad would continuously watch the Formula Ones, and I was a toddler. So when he would scream Nicky, I would imitate, but I would say Dicky. And so that's where the name comes from. And not a lot of people know.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a nickname. It's not your first name.
No,
your first
it's a
name is
nickname.
Nelson. I know Nelson.
Yes.
So I thought Dickies, Nelson Dickies Akwenye is
no, as I'm saying, I was a toddler, so it stuck. It became like
it didn't come from football.
Not even. That is the story.
That is the story.
Nobody knows.
How are your driving skills?
Conservative.
Okay, so we're joined by Nelson Akwenye, otherwise known as Dickies. I think Dickies is the most famous one because in football circles, everybody would refer to you as Dickies. And I was checking even on the internet, some of your pictures are still captioned as Dickies.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a nice name to start off with. And to start off now, let's talk about Dickies now, from his formative years before the Formula One, before the name. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born and bred in Windhoek, in Katutura Hospital. Grew up in a Ovambo location called Donkarhoek. So Ovambo location is a combination of Shandubala, the few neighborhoods. I grew up in Donkarhoek, which is the one where when the people were moved from the old location, they were settled there. So people were settled in different segregations, ethnically. Herero location, Nama location, Damara location, Vambo location. So because I'm Washivambo, I grew up in Vambo location.
So from the family, how many are you?
We are 6. We are a family of 6. My dad and my mom, and 1 sister, and 5 brothers. All sporting background because we grew up from a family of sports. My sister was the first black female pilot. Initially,
black female
pilot.
Pilot. Oh, okay.
Yes.
In Namibia.
In Namibia.
Okay.
Yeah. So
for in Namibia.
I only have 1 sister. No, it was back then. It was for, I think, after independence, for the founding father and also for the BS and so on.
Oh, so she was a private pilot, okay.
Yeah, but she got a scholarship from the founding father.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And then the guys, you said they're sporting. I only know one. The one who runs.
Yes. So that's my older brother, Harold, probably.
Yes.
He works for the city of Windhoek. He's the PRO. Very recognizable with the gray and the fitness. So he played for Civics. He's actually the one that played football. He started off with very good friends with Ricardo Manetti and a lot of other guys. So our home was also a very welcoming home because of his friends and then it was open, so one got to know a lot of people in a lot of circles because they would always flock there at our house. So he played for Civics. I would shadow him around in my formative years. I would, because he schooled in Commonwealth.
Oh, okay.
But we are from a Tigers background, because
yeah.
our father used to play, and the uncles were probably part of the founding members of the
Tigers.
club.
Yeah, okay.
So, and when we speak Tigers, it's an institution because it's almost 100 years.
We'll get to why Harold went to play for Civics.
Yes.
And then the school-wise, you didn't. You say Harold went to Commersdal, and you?
Yes, I went to, because I was a bit younger. There's two. There's another brother, Tobias Akwenye. He was a top sprinter in the country early on. We could all play soccer, but he chose sprinting. He was at his prime one of the top sprinting athletes, and it was just after the generation after Frankie Fredericks. So he got a scholarship to go to, through Frankie Fredericks and Quinton Steele Boters, to go to the university that Frankie went to and ran for, which is BYU. So he was off to America before he could even pursue football.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I've got another brother, Tangeni, just after me. He was also caught in between because he started training at Tigers back then, but immediately when he finished school, because this brother of mine, Tobias, was already in the States, he facilitated him to go. So they've been in America for the past 20 years, probably 20 plus. They are both married to Americans and they've got families there. But the one, Tobias, is up and down. He's here in Namibia some years and back there.
Okay. And now the school?
I schooled at People's Primary School, sub A and sub B. That was...
Don't confuse this one.
Yes.
So sub A is grade 1, right?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of grade, is it grade 1 or grade 00? I'm also a bit confused.
I think it's grade 1. Sub A is grade 1, sub B is grade 2, and then standard A, grade 3, standard
Most
B,
probably,
grade 4. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So let's say it's grade 1, and then there was a new school that, we lived in a 2-bedroomed house in the old neighborhood, but some of the people that were a bit, because my parents had a shop, they were business people from the onset, as far as I can remember. So they had the means to be able to move. People were building new houses in Soweto, and the suburbs were now popping up. So we got a bigger 5-bedroomed house in Soweto, which is called Luxury Hill, and that's where our parental home is now. So when we moved there, there's a new school that opened up, Namibia English Primary School, which was, I don't know if you know Ricky Averia. He's
Yes, I know Ricky.
Yeah, his parents, they came from the Philippines and they started that school. His mother was the principal, his father was the math teacher. And his father was my first soccer coach / teacher.
Okay.
So I joined Namibia English Primary School for primary school. And then after primary school, I went to Concordia College. So Concordia back then was not like it is now. It was the equivalent of a private school, but still government, because it was funded by NAMDEP, which was CDM that time. So the Oranjemund kids also had 2 options, to either go to Cape Town, because they didn't have high school in Oranjemund. It only ended at primary school. So they either had the option to go to Cape Town, the ones that had the means, or come to Windhoek.
To Concordia.
To Concordia.
Okay. So were you a boarder or you were still commuting from home?
Funny story. I was commuting from home, but then with the years progressing, I was so soccer obsessed that there would be times that there would be a school, a hostel, night league. So at the times that there was the night league, I would enroll into the hostel just to be able to play soccer. Yes.
That's very interesting. So, what would the parents say now when you're enrolling? Were you enrolling with their blessings, or you just do it out of your?
Because it was high school, so it was a bit of um, it was also an ease because of the drop-offs,
Yeah.
and so it was okay. It would just be a thing of, no, we having exams, or a story would be cooked up that for the next month it's better if I go stay
Stay there.
in the
The
in the
hostel.
hostel, and
Okay.
it was all systems go.
Yeah. And then, which club signed you first, or which club did you play for after school?
So yes, in high school, so the footballing career already started at primary school. Obviously, the schools leagues, and then I was already as a young boy I was around Tigers. As a young boy, I was around Tigers. Every day, every match, it was a footballing house. And back then, the community was also a
Very
footballing
involved.
community. So we would be at the Katutura Stadium back then. And we would be the kids that at halftime, kids would run around on the pitch. It wasn't these things of being strict and ball boys, and it was just open. Though you guys would follow the guys in the dressing rooms, and then you would go on at halftime and play on the field and so on. So I was around Tigers, and then initially a bit older, I would, like I said, shadow my brother Harold around, and he was schooling in Commersdal, so he started with civics. So I would still go with him, and I would be around the civics guys also. So coming back to me myself, I then started at 14 years. Think I was grade 7, or yeah, grade 7 probably. I started training with Tigers just
With
by
the
my
parents'
own
blessings.
Yes, my parents knew that I was soccer obsessed. Even after school, I would put a tire. I wouldn't do homework. I would put a tire at home, and I would make my own league, and I would kick and imitate the bigger guys. That's soccer was everything to me. And like you're saying, my parents were not happy. Not my dad, but my mom always wanted all of us to go study. So when that decision had to be made, also, but you couldn't do it otherwise. I was just about the ball.
At school level, if we can go back a little bit there, at school level, you were saying that the competition at schools was high from primary school. Take us through some of the tournaments that you played at school, and the schools that you played against, and the players that you played against.
Yeah, there was a proper school league in primary already. The schools would play against each other. The Commersdal schools, El Dorado, Cosmos, with the Katutura schools, Eshipena, all the schools teams were on top, and it was a serious league. You would have now the Mandumes and the Namtunis from Vambo location. We knew of stories of them coming to play in town against the St. Paul's, and this were the more upmarket kids now, private schools and whatnot. And these guys would come and play barefoot and win. It was a thing. Or if they lose, they had to walk back home. It was conditions also set. So it was different dynamics, and it's all we knew, and but it was proper.
How do you think, like, those dynamics that you're talking about, or the conditions, to say if you guys lose, you're going to walk all the way from St. Paul's to Soweto, Bambo location, and so on and so forth. How do you think it improved people as players back then?
Definitely. I mean, it's just like when
It was
you
motivation.
have motivation, because when you have some ground rules at home, and upbringing is key. It's just about the rules and regulations, in a sense. So they would know that, at all means, if you know that you have to walk, or you have to walk back, it gives an extra psychological motivation for you to win and to want it more. Whereas you are playing against this boy that has the most expensive boots, that is just nonchalant, he is in his comfort zone. So that's what I mean by the dynamics were different.
Yeah. And then high school, the competitiveness of high school football.
High school was was really where it took shape, because there was the Coca-Cola Cup, there was the different rivalries between the schools, Centaurus with Concordia was a rivalry in itself, just automatically. And then you had the David Poseidonauts, who had now also the more, the boy from Karitura, if he schools, if he cannot make it to the town school, because even with Concordia, you had to write an aptitude test to get in there. So you would end up in Commersdal, which was more, it's just steps. So if you end up at David or at Cosmos, it's because you cannot really go to a Centaurus or a Concordia. But if your parents have the means, then you are at St. Paul's, St. George's, or wherever, those private schools.
So some of the players that you remember that you played against at high school?
At high school, they were schoolmates, and I mean, all these guys, we were all, it is Colin Benjamin, Jeffrey Roman, Salomon Hey, we are all mates. We were all schoolmates, either a year apart or 2 years apart, and so on. And then the David Poseidonauts had the Quinton Jacobs, and the rest of the guys, Lucas Orr, them, and what I'm trying to say here is it was not that widespread. It was a close knit. Everybody knew everybody. Colin was playing for Firestone, the first division team back then. And then he saw me on the bench for Tigers. And he came to me at school the next morning, and he's like, wow, how can you be on the bench for Tigers? And so, but it was just me being groomed and being around those guys. So it took me probably a good 3 years before I made my debut for Tigers. But I would train with them, and I sacrificed, instead of playing for a first division club or a second division club, I remained there, and those 3 years shaped me. But it was also a sacrifice, because my peers were getting game time in the lower leagues, but I never played in the lower leagues.
And there was no payment then?
No, not at all.
But then now, you are mentioning that there was a foresight from the club management or the people that were running clubs then.
Yes.
Why are we not seeing that nowadays?
I try and implement it here and there when I see a talent. But there are untold stories, because we wouldn't know, because I don't think that the people that you bring here are really the ones managing the clubs. And because remember, there's also academies now.
Yes.
So the academies probably have a hold on the players, because they are in it for the business and not development per se.
I know that Bucks Buccaneers also, they have quite a few as well.
Yeah.
That are under 20. I'm not so sure about the other clubs. I haven't really spoken to the coaches there. I'm only talking about where I've spoken to the coaches to say, you have these players, why are you not choosing them?
But that's the difference also, Marco, because like I said, I had access, and it was just fake.
So our
for me.
clubs not accessible nowadays?
Obviously not, because of the academies. They're not the same. UNAM can take a chance on any boy and any age, because who will question? Because the hierarchy is they are an institution. They can even offer the boy some education package and whatnot, and they have the luxury to take a chance with the boy. Now you have African Stars or Tigers, for example, Tigers in the situation that they are now. When and how do you really take a chance on a young boy, whilst you have hordes and hordes of people that demand immediate success? So the dynamics are.
So what would you say now then that we should do to make sure that academies, clubs and schools are well aligned?
Yeah, we should move with the times. I mean, academies are the way to go. It's just that from where we are coming from, you were obliged by ethnicity and by your parental home to play for a certain club. It was not even a question.
There was no discussion.
No discussion at all, so.
But it produced stars. It was a working formula.
It was a working formula, but like I said, we have to move with the times, unfortunately. So the only problem now is the clubs because it's a formula that works worldwide. For example, a Steven Gerrard will be born next to the Enfield. He'll grow up in the Liverpool academy, but it's in Liverpool, and then he ends up playing for Liverpool and captaining Liverpool. So it's kind of the same with us back in the day, because you grow up in Tigers and you end up everything in Tigers. But now the academies, Tigers does not have an academy in this day and age. I think African Stars is trying now, but the teams that had the infrastructure, the Ramblers, the SKWs, I can name them. They were also competing in the top tier league, TTS. But this, because of being previously disadvantaged for them, had the facilities and had the academies and could work on a professional type of basis. That's where the whole mix-up comes in.
Okay, now you train with Tigers for 3 years. You are there, being part of the aesthetics, if we may put it that way. And then you get to make your debut. Do you remember the day you made your debut?
Yes.
Against which club?
So it was the year that FIFA introduced the golden goal rule, where if it goes into extra time, then it's a golden goal and then the match finishes. So we went to the north because, like, for example, I was part of Tigers. I was traveling with them, I was going with them, and then here and there maybe a friendly, but officially there was a tournament in Oshakati, and we were playing against African Stars, and the match went into extra time. Then the last sub was made. It was 3 subs back in the day. I was the final sub. I went in. They took a chance on me, the coach at the time, and I scored that golden goal rule, and the match ended there. And then I had arrived.
How was the feeling?
Yeah, I was the hero. I was the hero.
Yeah. When you make that debut, what is the next step now for you? Looking at the fact that I made my debut, I've been here for 3 years. What came into your mind? You score that winning goal, the golden goal.
But mind you, I was already playing for the national teams, the junior national teams. So I've played in all of them.
Under 17, under 23.
Yes, it started off with the under 15 Commerce regional team. We went. It was a Rossing. Yeah, that's where we all, Flores Dirha, Salomo A, the late mentor Zipondoka, even Temekanjo came. We came from different regions, so they came from Luderitz, Karas. So it was a regional tournament, and there a national team was chosen, and the 16 national team, which would play against Westphalia, the German teams that would come biannually. Either they would come the 1 year, and then we would go. And there was also the Finland, the Gothia Cup, and the tournament in Finland, where this specific national team would go to.
Yeah.
So I was part of all of those. And that's where the football networking came about, with that our group of generational players.
So when you played the Tigers, who did you play with alongside?
Like I said, I was there from.
I'm talking about now when you are when you're playing. You know, when the team is being mentioned, you're in the top 15.
Okay.
Either sit on the bench or you start.
Yeah. The first few years, I was still always the youngest, because everybody is late bloomers. All the guys would join when they are 20, 21. So in that instance, it was still the big guns. The late Briggs Angula, the Alele Kapules, Mario Davids. He's in the UK now. Was a good, close friend of mine there. Ushona Hiskia, the whole generation of Tigers. I played with the older ones, and eventually, then it was the Doki Schmidts and Jeremiah Baisakos and all these guys now that came, that were my age eventually. So that's how it progressed.
How was it? How was the experience there
at Tigers?
With those players that you just mentioned, from the one where you were younger and then the next generation that came?
It's all I knew, because I when the next generation came, it's not that I was untouchable, but it was a thing of I knew the history, so they would look at me. I also had this thing my whole career where the team management would always warm up to me, whether I was not the captain or whatnot, but it became a thing of when they're getting new coaches, I would be consulted, when I would be asked for advice, and it rolled over also because I played for Ramblers for 2 years. There was an exodus of a couple of us in one season where we went to Ramblers, 7 of us, I think, a good 7 of us. We went and won the NFA Cup there and so on. So even at Ramblers, when I was there, the management, Harold Dechten and Mark Kutzner, they would consult me, and they would also call me in and Michael Pinar to ask, should we change the coaches, should we not, what do you think, what is the problem? So this thing came automatically.
The exodus, what led to the exodus at Tigers?
It was just a bad season, and we were frustrated, and then I think Ramblers were also offering money at that time.
How did it feel now to leave such a home for you, if I may call it that way?
Remember, it was not me alone. So it came to a boiling point where it was an exodus. We all decided to jump.
But I'm saying personally with you, because yes, we can make a group decision, but obviously I will have my own personal feelings about that particular decision.
Yeah, I would say there was no emotions attached anymore because it was a love and hate relationship. Every season, remember, Tigers is the oldest, but not necessarily the most successful.
Yeah.
So there were other successful clubs that were doing things every season. There was a time that Blue Waters brought in Shepherd Murape and they were clinching everything. There was a time that
Orlando Pirates,
more Black Africa and so on. So one would always talk. Yes, there was the time that the Helmut was at Civics and everybody was playing there at Civics. So every season the offers would come in, and then you would have to make a conscious decision. Then you get promised that no, it's fine, we'll sort you out, and then you stay, and then you become frustrated. It was revolving.
Yeah. And then with the national team, did you play for the national team?
Yes,
the Brave Warriors, yeah,
of course.
Let's talk about your debut. Do you remember it?
Yes, I do.
Where was it?
It was in Botswana.
Take us through that moment.
Well, how it happened is they were rebuilding, and the coach at the time was Rastan and Uberian on his second stint, Peter Uberian, because I think he had retired for 2 or 3 years, and then he came back for a second stint. So when he came back, they were rebuilding, and then we were 4 or 5 youngsters that were called up with a combination of pure legends of the Geros, Uricops, and Lolo was also part of that team, but it was more local-based team. So, we went to Botswana for a match. Even the late Sylvanus Gambari was in that team. And I went on, I think, a few 20 minutes, final 20 minutes, I went on. All I can remember was just being scolded because I ducked when I was standing in the wall for a free kick against us, and it almost went in. But my whole career has always been with the big guys and learning and getting groomed and so on. So like I said there, it was a great experience. You used to watch Keros them on TV at the Nations Cup, the class of 98, and now you were part of them. Yeah. And just maybe to go back a little bit to the academies, you are a father of boys that they played academies. Yes.
You spoke about the tug of war between the family, not really a tug of war, but it's an artificial tug of war between the family. You are paying that your boy gets developed.
For a service.
Yeah, for a service. And then I come and I want to sign him, and I have to pay the academy. How are you going to handle that? Because it's coming.
Yes, I think my boys are lucky, and that's That's one thing with footballers and sports people in general. The key is just the support system, nothing else. Because talent, everybody is born with it. That comes naturally. It comes naturally. You just are alive, and then you have this talent, and that's why they say sports is so wonderful. I'm not just focusing on football; it can be any sports because you are born with it. So if you can do it to get compensated for it, it's the best job in the world. Unfortunately, it's not so lucrative here for us growing up, but if you use it wisely, and that's where I'm coming to, where it's just the support system. If you can have the foresight and have somebody that can be able to tell you that, look, this thing is based on a certain period. It will end one day. But unfortunately, nobody is there to tell all of that super talent.
Were you told that you?
I wasn't told, but because of my surrounding and because of my early
Introduction,
and I'm a person that's very observant and self-taught. Because I'll tell you a story where we would buy Kickoff and the South African magazine, and I would watch football religiously in the house. We would watch sports. If the World Cup is on, we would wake up early morning. The USA World Cup was always funny times. We would watch the sports, and I would be exposed without having gone outside of country. I would already at an early age be exposed and have the mind. But then you have a guy, a super talent from Kietmans or from wherever,
without
also better talented than me probably. And then we get called up to the under 16 national team together. Now we are sitting, this guy comes from Kakarara, what he can play. That's why he's there. He scored a lot of goals and somebody saw him. And now we are there. But I know that we are playing against South Africa in this home and away match. And if we beat South Africa, I know this, if we beat South Africa, we will qualify to the African Youth Championship, where it's a different market, and then maybe the Olympics and what. So I know this journey. I know the South African stars that are playing for Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates already by the magazines. But my teammate here, for him, he came to Windhoek for the first time, and he just wants to sleep in the hotel. That's his ambition. It's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about exposure.
Yeah.
So how are we aligned, and how do we win? Because if you could call all these guys together from across country, there's a thing that people complain about the capital. Players are only selected in the capital, this. But the mere fact is, people come to the capital for jobs also from everywhere else. So if I think the coaches could have all probably schooled us, if you get a youth team like that, and school them about why you are in the camp. What does this match mean if we win? And what is the end goal? Then maybe you would get a different outcome. We have soccer countries that are soccer crazy. The West African countries, I think the Nigerias, these boys know already that when he's 10 years old, his gateway to a good life, or just a life, is if he can play and be seen here and then end up here and then end up there. That's the difference.
And with that said, I think you've answered what was going to be my next question, that would you allow your children to take football seriously and say, look, Daddy, we are going to be footballers?
Yes. And so, and the funny thing also there is, I've never put any influence on them. But especially the older one, he's soccer crazy. He just started coming out when he was 7, 8. And we go to the school, we go to a parent-teacher meeting. The teacher says that he does just what he's asked to do, and then he wants break time so that he can go and play. And then I started realizing that, look, I was like that, And then the mother doesn't understand, and she's like, no, leave the ball, leave this and that and that. But I play back, and I realized a lot of things were just, I would skip detention at school to just go to trials And then the Monday I get called in by the principal and be warned that they'll pull me out of that national team that I was selected if I do it again. And so, yes, the first thing everybody says is education is the key and so on and so forth. But the talent that you have is also just for a short space of time. Football, you cannot play it longer than a good 15 years professionally or at the highest level. So if people can understand this, because you are born with it, it's a talent. It doesn't go away. I had an incident with Tuli, who is now in South Africa also, where the uncle asked me to go and talk to him because he didn't do well in school and he was depressed, and I went to talk to him, but then I realized I had to talk to the guardians or the parents and say that, but leave the school pressure that you're putting on him because he is a talent. Let him pursue the talent fully to a certain extent, but it's a thin line.
Of balancing, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. What led you to retire football? Was it age? Was it injuries? You fell out of love with the game?
And not even. I think I went full circle. I come from a business background household, so eventually, when it got to those years, I think I was probably 27, 28, with a good 4 or 5 years still in me, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, and that's another key factor. That's the difference between, it's the talent, but also staying away from substance abuse and alcohol, because that one has stopped many a talent from really going far. I then already was into business. Started off small with a car wash, gambling machines, this and that. We remember we had a family business also, so I was in that transition of taking over. So eventually I went into properties. So when I was at Ramblers, I had Ramblers. I was playing, but Ramblers as a club was renting a house from me for their foreign players, Bernard Belize and Samson John then. So that dynamic, I remember before Enrico Botas went to SA, Mark them also called me in and said, look, there's an offer here and then I would be the one weighing up. How much are they giving me? And how much am I making here? So it was always, it got to that point.
Yeah.
So gradually then it didn't make sense.
Oh, okay. And when you retire, you didn't take the conventional way where most players would do to go into coaching. Any particular reason why?
It's just obviously the coaching bug is still within me, but at the level that I was, unfortunately, in terms of occupation, business-wise and whatnot, it would still not make sense for me to
become a coach.
Yeah, to become a coach. So I was always set for either club ownership or club management or at that level because of just the capacity, nothing else.
Let's talk about club management. You are the chairperson of Tigers Football Club right now, the oldest club in the country. How is that going?
The club is not doing well.
Besides the club not doing well, we'll come to that later, but just you being there, the structures, sourcing of sponsorship, dealing with players, coming with this, dealing with the supporters, dealing with the league, people who are running the league, and so on and so forth.
So I always say that no matter what happens, it was a calling, and you cannot have it any other way in terms of really going through the school of hard knocks, because those community teams, dealing with the community, shapes you. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for everybody, because you have people just sitting wherever and just feeling entitled. Somebody must be in charge. Somebody must lead. somebody must run. But who is that person? Because not everybody
Can do that.
can do it, but not because you want to do it. That's why I'm saying it must be a calling somehow, because you cannot also explain it, because there's no money in football, in our football, and that's where we miss the point. Where I've heard a lot of people come here, maybe as footballers or retiring footballers or coaches, and castigate managements or even the FA and say, no, but things are not right, infrastructure and this and that and that. But we all started somewhere. We all played. But what is the difference between me and you? Why am I not complaining? Because I feel the full wrath of it. I'm on the other side. Remember, when I come into management, it's because I come in with the background of being a player. So when I come there, I tell myself that, when I was a player, I wanted this and I desired this, so I'll try and make it. But then you realize, when you come there, then you realize that, look, and then you start thinking back, but the people that were running the club when I was a player, because you get caught in the lights and the glamour. When you are a star, everybody praises you, everybody gives you X amount after scoring a goal and whatnot. But when it ends, you are just as good enough when you can do it for them. And that's where the guys miss the biggest chest and part of it. And when I say club management, it's because the club management, the people that put up their hand to go manage clubs, it's more of being like, you become like a social worker, because you sacrifice your time, your family, your business and whatnot, and whatever you supplement or also pump into there, it's unexplainable. But then you have former players that choose coaching, but with coaching comes, it's yes, you love what you do, but you want to be compensated for it. So everybody is in it for a reward. You go, you open an academy, but you charge to teach the kids. So you are in it to create a career for yourself. And others stay there for the longest in that position, because they create a niche for themselves. I'll give you an example. Civics is probably no more. But the creme de la creme plays for civics. Black Africa also now. So my head goes off to, and I have a deep respect for people like Hendrik Davids. Growing up, I've seen them. Oscar Mengo, unsung heroes. You just hear about them. When he was running Liverpool, he would come to my house as a young boy and sign me. I was there for probably a good season with Congo then as a youngster, also just being part of the team. Or you have all these glamour guys that played for Black Africa back then, but most of them are all coaches. And Lolo probably put up his hand and tried to run the club. And it's not just for everybody. It's not easy, but it doesn't come from a point of wanting to make a name for yourself, because you have the name already. I am Nelson Akwenye because of soccer, not because of Tigers. I'm associated with, but it's in the blood. But why do the other former legends or greats not lift up their hands and try and revive these clubs at management level? Or why do they not try to get into the NFA? We are a couple now. Me and Solomon Hay are very childhood friends. And we ran full circle our careers. He went to study in SA, came back, so his career didn't really on the playing field, but we grew up football. And he ends up being the chairman of African Stars. He has foresight. He's trying to do things going forward. I'm trying to do things at my level. You have Mali, who starts his own team. We all play together. You understand? But you will never hear us as former players complaining the same way that the current and other former players as coaches complain, because their thing is just, no people there. Why doesn't the NFA do this? Whatever. But and we need somebody. Apparently, we need somebody that knows football, that can run football.
But it's not only in Namibia. I mean, it's across the continent. Well, apologies. It's across the continent. It's not only in Namibia. It's across the continent. You see it in South Africa, where there is the issue of the SAFA presidency now, and it's not the first time that a certain Lucas Radebe is being mentioned. That no, he played football, he was at Leeds, he's respected at Leeds, we must put him there. We have seen it also in Zim. We also saw in at FIFA level when Infantino came in, there was a talk of Luis Figo, challenging him, because Figo has played the game. He's a Champions League winner. He's won titles with Madrid. He won titles. He has played with Portugal at the highest level. Should we have former players running the NPFL, your first division, Northwest, Northeast, Southern, and Central? Should we have the guys running NFA itself, the former players?
So, I'm a former player. I probably have ambitions there. Salomon is a former player. Mali is a former player. We are very close to there. And then you have other administrators. But the name itself shouldn't be good enough to entitle you to leadership. We complain about the FA immediately. We complain when we are in the national team about compensation and about this. But the bottom line is we are amateur. Everybody tries to act professional, entitled. There's no money, they're not paying us enough, the FA is not doing this and that. But the reality is we are amateur. Why is it that we are in an amateur league right now, but we still get players striking at club level? And where did the entitlement come from? Back in the day when we started, there was no payments.
Is it not what we tell them as administrators, as football fans?
It's just sitting there and making direct comparables, or being signed, going to SA, going to play in Germany, seeing that setup there, coming back and not realizing that we are still amateur. I'm not saying it's flawless, but remember, it's not just the soccer house. Does anybody from Windhoek that goes out and plays outside or is exposed outside think, when they put a complaint to whoever is in charge at the FA, think about the regions. Think about this timeless sacrifices that regional chairmen and a guy out there in Kurumkuru that brings the boys together every day after school, playing ball and whatnot, and then you get maybe a Petro Shitembi that comes now to Windhoek, and he's just seen on the name and the talent that time. But countrywide, people are busy, and that's where the bone of contention comes in, because it's almost like government, because there is a term, soccer politics, and it is rife and it is there and it is real. But with soccer politics, it's not the masses that votes election time. It's the regional chairpersons and whatnot. So the normal fan outside does not have really a say. So they can just be observers, and then they just go see Marco is in charge of football, and then they have expectations now. But there is processes to this.
But my question still stands.
Yes.
Should the comparison of ex-players and administrators, should we have only people who play football running our football?
Not at all. Not at all, because you are busy playing your football there, but the show goes on here. So how do we wait for you to be a big name, and then when you come back, because of your name, you have to come and run now? You have to put in the hours also. You have to go through the processes. You have to understand the scope. A lot goes into it.
And with what's currently happening in Namibian football, obviously you said things are not well for you at Tigers at the moment. All the clubs go through that. How tough is it for you to face the fans, the Tigers fans, and even maybe the opposition fans or some people that love the club? How tough is it for you to face even the players and say, guys, we're in this position, it's a precarious position, we must sort ourselves out? How tough is it?
Yes, it's life skills in a way, and leadership is a calling. So my straight answer would be, rather me than anybody else, because of the mere fact that you cannot question my love for the club. So if the club is in that position, you cannot look on top where it's me and question and say that I want to see this club down there, because it starts with me. The club runs in my blood. That's why I put up my hand up. So it affects me first and foremost. You must remember, it's still community in terms of the church that I go to. At home, my mother does not watch football, but she just looks at the newspaper and the log, and those questions comes to me first and foremost. So yes, it requires thick skin, but it also teaches you to lead and to be composed at the most trying times. And that's why I think previously I wanted to say that leading that club and probably some of these other clubs, the pressures are not the same. So it shapes you in a way, and if you can get through that, then you are set.
What are the challenges at Tigers right now? What do you think the club is where it is?
It's just the balancing act of transformation, the ideas, the wanting the club to move forward, but at the same time the regression and the resistance that comes with the community itself, and the people that just feel entitlement. Somebody must do it, but we just want to see the club progressing. Whoever does it, we don't care. And if it's you at the helm and it's not going well, then what is wrong? But they don't look at the effort, and it's actually for the better. But I think we'll overcome. We've been there before, not as much as now, but we've reacted, and
Hopefully
it's a plan.
Yeah. Looking at it right now, you are speaking about Tigers being a community team. Does that format still work in today's football? Does it work for us in Namibia, whether we are amateurs, semi-pro, or professionals?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all, because now the clubs have to adhere to club licensing by CAF, stringent, strict requirements. Everybody is crying foul. Why don't we have stadiums? But remember, we do have stadiums. They just don't meet
The
standards. So now the standards are professional required standards. But the bottom line is we are amateur. We've never become professional, not one single day. This has not happened yet, but nobody looks at that. It's in the process. We are trying. We want to do it, but the reality is we are amateur. But we have to meet professional standards.
I was going to ask, what are the benefits of us going professional?
No, it's just it's just how like the world moved into technology and going forward and so on. So it has to be done. It will be beneficial for probably everybody in the sports, depending on the generation at that time. But also, our country, there's a lot of things that keep pressing against all this transformation. For example, the population. For example, the love of the sport, the support of the sport. If you compare us to other soccer crazy countries, even just our national team, you guys, the media, are not really, you don't press questions enough. You cannot be in Zambia, Chipolopolo, or Malawi, the Bullets, or Zimbabwe. There are reporters that are just poised and dedicated to the national team. You know, they follow them everywhere. They ask the coach questions. Why this, why that? Because it's for the nation. So we don't probe enough. It's a free for all, relax. Oh, the team went and played. We watch on TV if it's broadcasted. If not, And then they come back and then they complain about money in-house, and then you don't know if there was a strike there hours before the match. You don't know if the captain is not talking to the coach or he's not following instructions. Nobody proves this. Nobody gets to the bottom of it like that.
No, it's very interesting. When we're off before we started shooting, you were telling me that you're part of the technical team in Ivory Coast.
At the Nations
Cup. At the Nations Cup, yeah.
Yes.
How did you get to be there? Because I also asked you don't have a coaching certificate, but then you're saying, I asked later that you have a coaching certificate.
No, I don't have a coaching certificate. I don't at all. So what happened is just before, because we had a normalization committee.
Yeah.
And then the national team qualified for AFCON. So after that, there was elections, and then the new hierarchy came in, the new executive. Now, according to the constitution of the NFA, there are subcommittees and committees. So they tried to put these committees in place where they appointed the TD, Cheki Shipanga, and then they had to have a technical committee. And then because the national team was going just free for all, they were not reporting to anybody because they were coming from the normalization committee.
Yeah.
So the FA decided to put up this technical committee to accompany and support and oversee, in a way, the technical team, you know.
Okay.
So that's what it was. It was also just a timing thing because the Nations Cup
just came immediately after the elections. Yeah. I think they were elected in November.
Yes.
And team had to leave
December for Ghana for a month for
the training camp.
Pre-tournament training.
How was that experience for you?
It was good. It was good in a way, but there was a lot of animosity also because somehow there was a feeling of, why is he here? What is he coming to do? Is he overseeing us? But I said, look, I've got nothing to do with it. It's just the experience and just the reporting back to the FA. Because eventually then other members of the FA then joined when the tournament happened. But it was good. We were all Namibians. We were there. We were preparing, and it was the tournament that made history because of the first qualification to the next round. But like I said, behind the scenes there was the untold stories.
No, some of them reported them here. The strike by the players.
Yes.
Did you have any role to play in terms of trying to mediate?
Yes, I was in the thick of things there.
Because
I was the conduit between the FA back home and the coaches and.
So maybe you can tell us what really happened there, because I was sitting here and a colleague was on the other side, and I got a text from one of the players. They texted me to say, look, we are probably not going to play the match against Angola because of ABCD.
Yes.
Yeah. Then I contacted my colleague there. Then he contacted other players and the management that was there at that time, including the president of the FA, Mr. Robert Shimashili.
Yes.
What really actually happened? What was the problem? Because no one, when we came back, no one explained.
Yeah, and
yet you say you were here to report. Now report to us.
No, I wasn't here to report back then. I was there to observe. To observe, and these are untold stories. So this is not new.
Yeah.
I don't think it's new. Even the current coaches.
Yeah.
Back then, Ronnie Canalelo was an assistant, Colin Benjamin, coach. And before that, I think Ricardo Mandetti was so them themselves, in the whole playing careers with the national team, will also have had similar incidents of talking about money and sorting things out. And this is also not just a Namibian issue, because remember, I think somebody spoke about Nigeria, Super Eagles, always repetitive, always same story. South Africa also had their issues here and there, and then came to a point where they iron out things. So it's just, like you said, the timing, the things happened concurrently, the new leadership, the NC normalization committee went out. So just that vacuum.
So the handover takeover is the problem.
100%. It's just the timing. So the boys probably that side felt entitled, and it was contractual disputes and what that was not. It was just a timing thing, nothing else.
But one thing I know about that is that it's like you're saying, it's not the first time. In Egypt, there was a similar situation as well, where the players slept at 4 in the morning when there was a negotiation between the technical team and the FA.
So it's normal.
But why do we normalize something that is abnormal?
It started way back then. That's why I mentioned the names that I mentioned. Remember, there was a COSAFA team that got kicked out by the then NFA president, the Deputy Chief Justice,
Damasev, in Angola, I think.
Yes, and then the return leg, they were all kicked out, and a different team came to play.
Yeah, but why do we keep doing that? My question is, are we not learning anything? Is there no lessons in what we have seen? Because it didn't end in Ivory Coast. I'm sure if we qualify for the next tournament, we might see it again.
Yes, until we are professional, because most probably it's just the systems in place that are not. There's probably deeper underlying issues, the funding from government, the FIFA funding, the gap between government and the FA on sponsorships. Because remember, I told you, even when we come back to club football, players are entitled to certain amounts. They won't sign, they won't play for a team if they don't get paid X amount. Who does the valuation? How do you decide you are worth this amount? Because it's become a norm in amateur. It's become a norm. Remember, I came from the background of a player, so I came with the mindset that no, players must be taken care of, and then they will take care of you on the field. But they are the same people that just
turn against you.
They don't care. They are just there for themselves.
According to you, what is the value of our football? If you had to evaluate Namibian football and give it a figure, even if it's an estimate figure, what would you say?
The league currently itself.
No, the whole football, including the national teams, the whole football industry in the country.
It can be lucrative if all stakeholders are.
Give us a number.
It's a multi-million-dollar industry. It can be.
Okay, right now what is it? If you look at it and just out of the blue,
I think it could make a proper just under 100 million.
Under 100 million.
It could be. It could.
Okay.
It has the potential.
Are we fully utilizing that?
No, we are not. We are not at all.
I was just thinking
we can do better.
When you were talking about the players evaluating themselves, I was just thinking, but how you're actually very right. How do they evaluate themselves if we don't know the value of our football?
Because remember, the players always find a market for themselves. Like for example, Malaysia. But if you look at the rankings back then, 3-4 years back, it became a thing where players were flocking to Malaysia.
Just as we see them now flocking.
Yes, and they were living a good, decent, proper life, close to a luxury life, I would say, and that comes also now with the education of knowing that it's just a time frame. Because Marco, do the math, do the ratio, look at how many exports we've had. You go back to the very, very first guys that went out, whoever, I don't want to mention names, and look at where they are now. So it's a repetitive cycle. I'm talking about the ones that went and got compensated properly, would come back and have nothing to show for it. But what do? They come and complain, and they live on their name, but the name is gone, and nobody cares. I think you've had them here on your shows,
and
you can do direct comparables. So forget the FA. You had your career out there, your life. What did you do with it?
Interesting.
And when you tell a guy that's on top of his game right now that, look, it will end one day, put this away, do this, do that, it's the hardest person to convince.
With Tigers, What is your wish? I know you brought in Woody Jacobs to come and assist Brian Isaacs. What is the thinking around that?
Right now, it's just survival to because it's become a thing. You know, when the forces are of nature are against you, everybody's looking there because the other big giants went down.
Yeah.
And the gossips and the mongering about infighting and whatnot. No, they'll follow the same route. They follow the same route. And then historically, there is this hanging cloud that the team has never been relegated. So we are caught in a moment. But the plans are big.
To survive.
The immediate is to survive, but the plans are big to make Tigers what it's supposed to be, an institution. Because when you are the oldest club, that means that you were first and then everybody else followed.
Yes.
So, and when you are reaching 100 years, that entitles you to heritage, I think.
You're celebrating 100 years this year?
No,
next
year.
Okay.
No, yeah, next year.
Next year, okay.
Next year. So that is no mean feat. So that needs to come with some sort of proper setup, proper competitiveness, and proper celebration.
But are you getting enough support from the community?
Myself or the team?
The team. Look, you are the face of the team.
Yes.
Yeah. As a chairman, are you getting the necessary support? And is the team getting the necessary support? I'm looking at the number of business people that, for instance, come from Shandumbala. The number of business people that are former Tigers players, and they're now running their own successful businesses. Is there anyone who has come and said, Chairman, I can pay 2 of your players a certain amount, get the best players, I'll pay them for this season?
People are just reactive. Unfortunately, not really. Hence why you spoke about community. So we are trying to move into the model. We are 3 directors at the moment. So it's not really community based anymore. We are 3 directors, 3 investors, and it's me and 2 others. One is prominent, he's the vice president of cricket Namibia, Oli. He's with the cricket now at the World Cup. Yeah. So he has capacity. He knows what they've done with cricket, and he's also a born and bred Tigers. So we are trying to get this young generational impact in the transformation. But to get for our people, change is not easy, and to sell the idea is not easy.
Look at Stars, the model that Stars is following.
Yes,
it's been a success, I think, for the past 10, 15 years.
Because the success on the field also has followed them. Remember, there's a lot of untold stories, so there might be resistance, there might be people that don't like this and that happening, but when you are getting the results, nobody can question. They just follow. Now that's the direct opposite with Tigers.
The results are not coming.
Yeah, so and what we are trying to do, there is no time, they don't have time for that, and then the resistance just comes in. And unfortunately, it might come to a point where if you do not have mature enough leaders with a good head on their shoulders, one could also just step back and step away, and then Tigers just remains where it is.
Yeah. I think we have spoken quite a lot on this. Who would you like to see sitting there where you're sitting next?
In this chair?
Yeah.
It can be anybody.
Anybody. We'll make an effort to give them a call and tell them you've been nominated to come to the podcast and speak football.
Jackie Shipanga.
Jackie Shipanga.
Yes. She is an encyclopedia.
That's a difficult one. We've been trying to get but it's a good challenge. I'm sure she will see this, and she will avail herself. I've wanted to have her here.
She's owes it to the nation for for people to just step into
To the knowledge.
the brain.
I mean, when you go into Africa and you say you're from Namibia and you're talking to football people, I think she's one of the first few people that people ask you about because of the work that she has done. So
I've experienced it firsthand because I've traveled with her.
You travel, yeah. Anyway, Chairman, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best with Tigers. Please do make sure that Tigers stays on in the league. It's the oldest club. That alone makes Tigers deserve to stay in the league.
By hook or crook.
By hook or crook, it must stay there.
Yes.
We want our football to have an identity. We want our football to have culture. And maybe final message to the Tigers faithfuls. What would you say to them?
For us to hold hands together and to pull through, it will come right, and this club will be who it needs to be.
Yes, it will be who it needs to be if we hold hands together. Those are the words of the chairman of Tigers, Nosen Akwenye, who has given us his time here today. And we hope that you enjoy the show. If you've got any questions, we can easily call him back as a friend of the show. Then we can pose those questions to him and we share them with you. Thank you very much for tuning in to Game Time, and thank you for your views and comments. Remember also, you should like our page as well as subscribe, and make sure that you follow us every day. Bye-bye.